Ebere was the music coordinator for the JS1 students for the upcoming Christmas carol presentations. Christmas carols reminded her so much of her own childhood, of her father, the pastor, who had instilled in her a love for singing. Her voice, a natural soprano, had been carefully nurtured from an early age. She used to adore Christmas songs, the way they filled her home with warmth and joy. But now, she barely cared for any of it. Her life had changed. Her priorities shifted. Becoming more confident in her sexuality had made her confront the tension between her faith and her true self. In today's world, Ebere thought, being gay and being a faithful Christian felt worlds apart. And she'd made her choice. After an intense moment with Titi, her secret lover, Ebere had been dropped off that Saturday evening at the Coppers Lodge to pack her things. She and Titi were leaving for the capital city the next day. The thrill bubbled within her. She could hardly wait. The next day arrived quickly. Humming softly to herself, she pulled out her suitcase and started folding her favorite clothes and stacking her few accessories. As she placed a stack of neatly folded jeans into the box, she noticed Aisha watching her from across the room, her face clouded with sadness. Aisha approached quietly, sitting down on Ebere's bed. "So, we won't see till the 6th of next year?" Aisha asked softly. Ebere chuckled, nudging her friend. "Yes, so I'll miss you, Sha. You and your small, small problems." Her eyes sparkled with affection as she teased. Aisha forced a laugh, though it didn't reach her eyes. Inwardly, she thought, "I was really hoping you'd stay with me." She masked her disappointment with a faint smile. "Have you taken your bath?" Ebere interrupted her thoughts, glancing up from her packing. Aisha shook her head. "I haven't even brushed yet." Ebere scrunched her nose in mock disgust. "No wonder," she teased, laughing lightly. "The bathroom will be crowded by now. Let's go bathe outside." Aisha blinked, a little taken aback. I I can't bathe outside," she murmured. Ebere nodded, recalling Aisha's modesty. "Oh, that's right. But wouldn't it be fun to try something new?" she said, a mischievous glint in her eye. "You know, to feel a little rebellious for once." Aisha laughed. "Well, since we will go together." Aisha trailed off, then realizing herself. "Well, you will be there, so I won't be scared of some man passing through that fence and catching a glimpse of me." Ebere laughed. "Even if they see, they can't touch. That's the most important thing," Ebere said. Ebere picked up a rumpled cloth and held it up against herself. "Let me go borrow an iron from Ketura. This top needs some help," she said, holding it up for Aisha to judge. "Okay," Aisha replied, nodding as Ebere darted out to the next room. Alone now, Aisha's gaze lingered on Ebere's open suitcase, a mixture of sadness and something deeper in her eyes. She let out a shaky sigh, pressing her hands to her face. She felt an ache, a longing that words couldn't capture. Hesitantly, she reached out and ran her fingers over Ebere's belongings, tracing each item like a memory she wanted to etch in her heart. Her fingers paused over the bra Ebere had just stashed in the corner of the suitcase. Heart pounding, she reached for it, lifting it to her face. Gently, she pressed it against her nose, inhaling Ebere's scent, letting the warmth of it linger, her eyes fluttering shut. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. Panicked, she slipped the bra under her hijab, heart racing. Ebere re-entered, holding the iron, her brows raised. "Let me just iron," she said, giving Aisha a playful look, signaling for her to get up from the bed so she could use the space. It took a moment for Aisha to catch on, and when she finally rose, she did so awkwardly, folding her arms tightly across her chest to secure the hidden bra beneath her hijab. Her palms were sweaty, her mind spinning as she shuffled toward her own bed. Ebere bent down, setting the iron on the mattress. "I'll just finish up here, then we can go bathe," she said, focusing on her top as she pressed down the wrinkles. Aisha sat down on her bed, trying to steady her breathing as she discreetly tucked the bra into her own belongings. Her fingers trembled, and she kept her gaze averted, hoping Ebere wouldn't notice. Titi lived in a big house. At least it was big by Ebere's standards. A well-furnished duplex with polished wooden floors, high ceilings, and a grand staircase leading to the second floor. As Titi and Ebere stepped inside, they were greeted by the smell of freshly baked bread drifting from the kitchen and the soft murmur of a television from the living room. Suddenly, a small figure bounded down the staircase. It was Samuel, Titi's 11-year-old son. His face lighting up when he saw his mother. "Mom!" he called, hurrying over and wrapping his arms around her. "You are home!" Titi smiled, ruffling his hair. "How are you, my darling?" "Fine, Mom," he replied. His eyes then shifted curiously to Ebere, who was standing just behind his mother, holding her overnight bag. He offered her a polite, slightly hesitant smile. "Good evening, Auntie." Ebere returned his greeting with a warm smile of her own. "Good evening, Samuel. Nice to meet you." Samuel glanced up at his mother, his brows furrowed in confusion. He leaned closer to Titi and whispered, "Who is she? She doesn't look like my auntie, oh." Ebere heard him and chuckled softly. Titi gave Samuel a tight-lipped smile. "She's a colleague from work, Samuel. She'll be spending Christmas with us." "Oh," Samuel nodded, his curiosity now shifting to excitement. He looked at Ebere with an eager grin. "Auntie, do you like playing video games?" Ebere laughed, caught off guard by his enthusiasm. "Well, I can try. I've never been very good at them though," she admitted, glancing at Titi, who seemed tense. There was a flicker of something in Titi's eyes. Was it discomfort, annoyance, that made Ebere pause? "Samuel, let her rest," Titi said, a bit sharper than usual. "I brought some things for you. They are in my bag on the dining table. Go check." She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, nudging him in the direction of the dining room. Samuel's face brightened. "Thanks, Mom." He darted off, his attention now on the mystery gifts awaiting him. Once he was out of earshot, Titi turned to Ebere. "Come, I'll show you to your room." They walked up the staircase and down a quiet hallway to a cozy guest room. The moment they stepped inside, Titi closed the door softly behind them. Her expression shifted. The warmth she'd shown downstairs faded, replaced by a look of cool seriousness. She stepped closer to Ebere, reaching out to brush a hand across her cheek, her fingers lingering just a moment too long. "Listen, Ebere," Titi said in a low, stern tone, her voice gentle but firm. "I would appreciate it if you don't get too close to Samuel or give him any ideas that you are his friend." Ebere blinked, caught off guard by the sudden change in Titi's demeanor. I I don't understand," she replied, searching Titi's face. "What are you talking about?" "Just let everything be about us, about the two of us, our affair," Titi continued, her eyes unwavering. "I don't want you making friends with my kid. Don't complicate things." A puzzled smile crept into Ebere's face. "What do you mean, Titi? Do I look like someone who bites kids?" Titi let out a frustrated sigh, rubbing her temples. "See, this is the problem with you, Ebere. You don't understand boundaries. You come into my home, and already you are too familiar. I don't want you getting close to Samuel. Just, please, respect that boundary." Her voice softened, but there was an unmistakable edge. "Don't make me regret inviting you here." For a moment, they stood in silence. Ebere's face fell, and her earlier warmth faded, replaced by a mixture of hurt and confusion. But before she could respond, Titi turned sharply on her heel and walked out of the room, closing the door quietly behind her, leaving Ebere standing alone, the air thick with unspoken words. Later that evening, Ebere lay on the guest bed, staring at the ceiling and questioning everything that had led her here. She felt the weight of her decision settling like stones in her stomach. What was I thinking? She thought, frustrated. This is her family, her husband, her son, coming to live under the same roof with them? Stupid, so stupid. Ebere sighed heavily, rubbing her temples, lost in her spiraling thoughts. Just then, the sound of a car horn outside pulled her from her reverie. Curiosity got the better of her, and she rose, moving to the window to peer out. She saw Titi, arm around young Samuel, walking out to greet the man who had just stepped out of the car. Her husband. Ebere's chest tightened as she watched Titi smile warmly and kiss him, their faces glowing in the soft evening light. Her heart drummed against her ribs, a strange heaviness settling over her. She tried to shake it off, returning to sit on the edge of the bed. She stared blankly at her hands, willing herself to breathe deeply and suppress the unsettling feeling creeping over her. The door rattled suddenly, and then came a soft knock. "Ebere." Titi's voice floated through the door. Ebere stood, collecting herself as she unlocked and opened it. Titi's expression softened, her lips pulling into a tight, polite smile. I'm sorry, but we don't lock doors in our home in case there's an emergency, you know. Ebere gave a small nod, feeling her frustration prickling just beneath her calm exterior. Titi hesitated, looking down briefly before meeting Ebere's gaze. Look, I'm sorry about earlier, about the whole thing with Samuel, she said, her voice quiet. I just. It's complicated. You will understand better when you have your own kids. Ebere's response came out without a second thought. I don't intend to have any. Titi paused, clearly taken aback. Her mouth opened as if she were about to say something, but then she seemed to think better of it. She gave a faint nod instead. The house help said dinner should be ready by 8 p.m. Titi continued, adjusting her tone to sound more casual. I'll use the opportunity to introduce you to my husband. He's curious anytime he meets a colleague from school. After church with Samuel, he had a business meeting, so he wasn't here when we arrived. But he'll want to know why I don't just quit and come work here in the city, stay home with him and Junior. So if he asks questions, just I understand, Ebere interrupted, not wanting to hear more. Titi smiled, though there was a hint of strain in her expression. Thanks. Don't worry, he'll be off to work tomorrow, and I'll send Junior over to his friend's house. Then we'll have the whole day to ourselves. Ebere nodded, trying to ignore the swell of emotion stirring inside her. And later that evening, Titi added, almost as an afterthought, we will be going to Samuel's school for their Christmas carol event. Ebere nodded again, her mind already clouded with doubt and unease. Samuel, Titi's husband, was full of life, cracking jokes that had everyone at the dinner table chuckling, including Ebere. Even Bumi, the house help, sat with them, clearly enjoying the warm atmosphere. Samuel began, gesturing with his fork as he spoke. I've worked with Igbo people before. Very nice people, very business minded. Most of my best clients are Igbo. He smiled warmly, nodding as if expecting her agreement. Ebere smiled politely, unsure how to respond. That's nice, she said, nodding along, trying to stay neutral. It was obvious he was trying to make her feel comfortable, but the whole setup felt surreal to her. After dinner, Ebere retreated to her room. She sank onto her bed, feeling drained, and glanced at her phone. 3 missed calls from Aisha, two from Dad. She sighed, a familiar pang of guilt surfacing. She hadn't heard from Ebuka in months. She hadn't even thought about him until tonight. But something urged her to reach out. Without much hesitation, she typed a quick message. How are you doing? Watching the message show as delivered, she turned her attention to her calls. She decided to call her father back first. Hey, Bere, how are you, my daughter? His warm voice came through, comforting and familiar. I'm fine, Dad, she replied softly. You are sure? Where exactly are you staying? I want to make sure you are safe, he asked, concern evident in his tone. I'm fine, Dad, she said, hoping he wouldn't ask more as she gave him the address. After a brief conversation, she hung up, feeling a slight weight lift off her chest. Then she called Aisha. Ah, look who finally remembered me, Aisha teased as soon as she answered. Ebere laughed. Oh, please, I've just been settling in. How are you? I can imagine you are enjoying your time there. Aisha chuckled, her laughter infectious. They spoke at length, the conversation bringing Ebere a momentary sense of comfort. By the time she ended the call, She was laughing to herself, feeling lighter. This girl self, she murmured, still smiling as she began changing into her pyjama. She was halfway through, zipping down her dress, her back facing the door, when she heard a knock. Here we go again, she thought, rolling her eyes, expecting Titi with yet another list of house rules. She didn't respond. It was Samuel. Outside the door, he cleared his throat. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to talk to you before you retired for the night. Ebere took a deep breath, then opened the door, now fully dressed. No problem, come in. He stepped inside, still apologizing as he took a seat on the edge of the bed beside her. Thank you for coming to spend Christmas with us, he said, his voice softer. Last year Easter, Titi brought her other colleague, Busayo. Ebere's stomach dropped at the mention of Busayo. Busayo was a teacher in the arts department, the same colleague Titi had visited the day she and Ebere had first started talking. Was she Titi's previous partner? Samuel continued, breaking her thoughts. I hope you've been enjoying your time here. Yes, I have, she replied, forcing a smile, though it felt awkward. He hesitated, glancing down at his hands, and then looked at her intently. You know, I love Titi very much. She's my wife, and I'm just looking out for her. But I've been wondering, what's so special about that school of yours? Ebere felt a pang of guilt twist in her chest. This is what Titi was worried about, she realized, remembering her warning. But as she glanced at him, she couldn't help but feel sympathy too. It doesn't make sense to me, he went on. Why does she insist on staying far from us? I keep urging her to move here, but she says she has her sewing clients there and she loves her job at the school. He trailed off, searching Ebere's face for answers. Ebere felt her mind racing. This man was desperate for answers, for some reassurance, and she wasn't being fair to him either, not with everything going on between her and Titi. The weight of her guilt deepened, reminding her of how messy this entire situation was becoming. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, Titi appeared at the doorway. Sweetheart, what are you doing with my guest? Titi asked, her tone light-hearted, though there was an edge to her words as she walked towards them. Samuel immediately stood up from the bed, looking a bit flustered. I I just wanted to make sure she felt welcomed. Oh, I'm sure she's fine, Titi replied, her smile overly bright as she took his hand. Come on, let's give her some space. As they left, Ebere felt a wave of relief mixed with a growing sense of dread. She stared at the door long after they were gone, the room heavy with tension she couldn't quite shake. She sank back onto her bed, her mind spinning, suddenly feeling like she wanted to be anywhere but here. Her phone chimed, pulling her back to reality. She glanced at the screen. It was a message from Ebuka. She opened it, reading through the long message, her heart sinking with each line. The summary was simple though. He was breaking up with her. Ebere sighed, the weight of everything crashing down on her. Ebuka deserves better, she thought. And for the first time, she wondered if she did too. Ebere woke up the following morning to the rich scent of fried plantain wafting through the house. Her favorite. A small smile crept onto her face as she stretched, quickly brushing her teeth and taking a bath before heading to the dining table. There, she found Samuel Jr. and Bumi already eating. "Good morning, Auntie," Samuel Jr. greeted her with a bright smile. "Good morning, Samuel," she replied warmly, returning his smile. "Good morning, ma," Bumi added, nodding respectfully. "Oga and Madam left this morning, but they say they'll be back soon." She disappeared into the kitchen to fetch Ebere's breakfast. As Ebere settled in, savoring the warm, crispy plantains on her plate, Samuel Jr. spoke up, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "Auntie, do you play what card?" Ebere paused, remembering Titi's warning to keep her distance from the boy. She wanted to say no, but then again, what harm could come from a simple card game? "Yes, I do," she replied with a gentle smile. After breakfast, Ebere and Samuel Jr. sat in the living room, playing the game of words and laughing. The room was filled with the sounds of shuffling cards and friendly banter. "Auntie, you really don't know how to play," Samuel Jr. teased, grinning widely as he won yet another round. Ebere chuckled, feigning frustration. "Oh, come on, you just got lucky." "Lucky? I've beaten you 3 times already." He laughed, clearly proud of himself. Ebere knew she was letting him win, but the joy on his face was worth it. What had been one of her favorite games growing up, and winning wasn't always about luck, it was about strategy. But she didn't mind losing today. They just finished packing up the cards when Titi and Samuel Sr. returned. Not long after, Samuel Sr. left for work, and as Titi had hinted earlier, she arranged for Samuel Jr. and Bumi to go to a friend's place, creating a quiet moment for herself and Ebere. "Finally, alone together," Titi said with a slight smile, slipping her arms around Ebere's waist in the privacy of Ebere's room. She leaned in, her face inches from Ebere's. Ebere quickly pulled back, gently but firmly removing Titi's hands. "No, please. I don't think we should do this here," she murmured, avoiding Titi's gaze. "Not where you live with your husband and child." Titi's smile faded, her brow furrowing in confusion. "I don't understand. What's gotten into you?" Her tone was light, but there was an edge to it. "I thought the whole reason you came to spend Christmas with me was so we could have these private moments." Ebere shook her head, feeling a pang of guilt. I I didn't realize things would be this complicated. We can't do this here, Titi." Titi let out a dry laugh, devoid of humor. "So, what exactly did my husband tell you last night, huh?" she sneered. "Look, he's cheating on me too. He practically sleeps with the house help whenever I'm not around." Ebere's heart sank. The revelation hit harder than Titi likely intended. "Oh my God. That's all the more reason I shouldn't be involved in this mess," Ebere said, her voice trembling. "People are getting hurt, Titi." Titi looked her up and down, an expression of disappointment and frustration etched on her face. "So, what on earth do I need you for in my house then?" she snapped. "Why are you even here?" The words felt like a slap to Ebere's face. She stared at Titi, struggling to recognize the woman standing before her. This was the same Titi who had saved her from Mr. Isaac, the same Titi who used to call her baby girl. Ebere bit her lip, tears stinging her eyes. I can't do this here," she whispered, barely managing the words. But Titi wasn't done. She continued her advances in the days that followed. But each time, Ebere resisted, her resolve growing stronger. She didn't want to complicate things any further. She counted down the days, longing for the holidays to end so she could return to her teaching post and figure out where she truly stood with Titi. But then something happened that changed everything. One afternoon, when Titi and Samuel Sr. were both out, Samuel Jr. approached her with a new request. Auntie, can we play hide and seek? He asked, a hopeful smile on his face. Ebere laughed, raising an eyebrow. Hide and seek? Aren't you a little too old for that? Samuel Jr.'s smile wavered, his face falling. I'm not a baby, you know, he muttered defensively. Mommy and I used to play it all the time when she'd come back from her trips. But this holiday, she's been so busy. His voice softened and he looked away, disappointment shadowing his expression. Ebere's heart softened. She could sense the sadness in his voice, the longing for his mother's attention, and she felt responsible in some way. Okay, fine, she said, relenting. Let's play. Samuel Jr.'s face brightened instantly. Really? Thanks, Auntie. So, how do we play? Ebere asked, smiling at his excitement. Sister Bumi will count and we'll go hide, he explained, glancing toward the kitchen. Bumi, however, wasn't as eager. Look, Junior, I don't have time to play. I'm cooking, she called out, clearly exasperated. Oh, come on, Bumi, Ebere urged. Just one game, it won't take long. Bumi sighed, throwing her hands up in defeat. Fine, she muttered, walking over and covering her eyes. 1, 2, 3. Ebere and Samuel Jr. scampered off, trying to find hiding spots. I'll hide in my room, you hide in yours, Ebere whispered to Samuel Jr. He hesitated, whispering back, there's no good hiding place in my room. Can I hide with you? Ebere nodded, not thinking much of it. All right, come on then. They entered her room, and Ebere tucked herself behind her closet, while Samuel Jr. squeezed himself under the bed. They waited, stifling giggles, listening for Bumi. Minutes passed, then more minutes. There was no sign of Bumi. I think Bumi gave up, Ebere whispered, stepping out from behind the wardrobe. No, let's wait a bit longer, Samuel Jr. replied, his voice muffled from under the bed. But Ebere was getting tired. No, let's go. This game's over. As she spoke, Samuel Jr. tried to slide out from under the bed, but he froze, a note of panic creeping into his voice. I I can't get out. I'm stuck. Ebere knelt down, reaching for him. Here, give me your hand. Try to pull yourself out. You can do it. At that moment, they heard the front door open, followed by Titi's voice echoing through the house as she spoke to Bumi. Where is Junior? He's playing hide and seek with Auntie Ebere, Bumi replied. Ebere froze. Your mom's home, she whispered, worry creeping into her voice. Oh no, Junior whispered back, his face crunched up in fear. Mommy's going to be so mad. Ebere thought about all the warnings Titi had given her, and she began sweating as she pulled Samuel, all to no avail. Titi's footsteps got closer, and she began shouting, Junior! Ebere! Where are you? Titi reached Ebere's door when she suddenly heard from inside. Try to pull yourself out, Junior. Ebere sounded frustrated. You can do it. Just hold my hand. Titi's voice grew, tinged with suspicion. What's going on in there? She twisted the door handle, but it wouldn't open. Open this door right now! Ebere's stomach dropped. Junior, did you lock the door? Yes, he mumbled, almost in tears. I didn't want Sister Bumi to catch us too quickly. Oh no, Ebere whispered, panic rising. She knew what Titi was probably thinking. Open this door, Ebere, now! Titi screamed, banging on the door. Ebere rushed to unlock it, but as soon as she opened it, Titi's hand shot out, slapping her across the face. How dare you, Titi screamed. What were you doing in here with my son? What? Titi, it's not. Don't even try to explain, Titi interrupted, her eyes blazing with fury. You were trying to corrupt my son? You are leaving this house today. Ebere's face burned, more from the accusation than the slap. Titi, I would never. Don't! Just pack your things and get out. Titi hissed, reaching over to Samuel Jr. She pulled at him, trying to get him out from under the bed. Junior, are you okay? What did she do to you? Nothing, Mom, Junior wailed. We were just playing. But Titi wasn't listening. She called for Bumi, and together they managed to pull Junior out from under the bed. Meanwhile, Ebere, stunned and numb, stumbled back to her wardrobe. Mechanically, she began packing her belongings, stuffing them into her luggage with shaking hands. Without another word, she left the room, ignoring the commotion behind her. She walked out of the house without looking back. It was only when she got to the bus stop that tears started streaming down her face. What do I do? Where do I go from here? She cried, regularly dabbing her eyes with her handkerchief, trying not to let passers-by see what was going on. She had been through a lot already in her journey as a lesbian, searching for her own happiness. Would she ever find it? Does true love really exist? She had refused to go back to her parents for the holidays because she was seeking freedom. Was this what freedom meant? Where would she sleep tonight? So many questions ran through her mind. Then she suddenly remembered Aisha. She was going to call Aisha.